Hi, I'm Steve Ortman, and this is Cornucopia. Are we running out of oil? We hear this claim all the time, but is it true? In 1981, Julian Simon wrote a book called The Ultimate Resource, examining this question. Let's look at what he found in the course of studying the effects of population growth on resources. It's important to understand his main conclusion about resources in general, as it applies to oil as well. Resources, he found surprisingly, get less scarce the more we use them. The long-term price trend for almost every resource is down, not up, meaning that as demand increases, supply increases even more, lowering the price. Thus, resources become less scarce over time. This is a chart of the price history of a common commodities index over the last 110 years, showing the declining cost of resources even as their demand increased substantially. Concerns about running out of oil have been voiced repeatedly, almost since the first commercial well was drilled in Pennsylvania in 1859. As one expert quipped, "We've been running out of oil for 150 years. In 1885, the U.S. Geological Survey said there was little or no chance for oil in California. In 1891, they made the same prophecy for Kansas and Texas. In 1914, the U.S. Bureau of Mines set a total future production limit of 5.7 billion barrels of oil, perhaps a 10-year supply. In 1939, the Department of the Interior said reserves to only last 13 years. And 12 years later, in 1951, the Department of Oil and Gas Division gave reserves another 13 years. Listen to these two snippets from President Jimmy Carter in his 1977 energy crisis speech.
The oil and natural gas that we rely on for 75% of our energy are simply running out. Unless profound changes are made to lower oil consumption, we now believe that early in the 1980s, the world will be demanding more oil than it can produce.
Why are these estimates so often wrong? First off, because they rely on known or proven reserves. Known reserves means the total amount of oil in areas that have been thoroughly prospected. Quantities that geologists are quite sure are recoverable at present technology. These reserves are created by searching for promising drilling areas, but only far enough ahead to allow preparation time, and not so far ahead that the investment in prospecting costs will not obtain a satisfactory return. This means known reserves of oil says nothing about the total amount of oil recoverable with current technology, nor anything about the oil that can be recovered with future technology. Over and over again, these technical analyses simply add up known reserves, extrapolate consumption into the future, and declare the date for doomsday. As we see here in 1980, we had 30 years of oil left at then current consumption rates. But by 2010, we had 40 years remaining at the much higher consumption rates. Using known or proven reserves to calculate oil exhaustion is simply nonsensical. The reality is that there's a constant competition or tension between how difficult it is to get the oil and how good we are at getting it. As the technology for locating, extracting, refining, and transporting oil improves, sources that were previously too costly to recover become economical to do so. This is especially true when the price of oil rises. Here's Simon explaining how this happens. Greater consumption due to increase in population and growth of income heightens scarcity and induces price run-ups. A higher price represents an opportunity that leads inventors and business people to seek new ways to satisfy the shortages. Some fail at cost to themselves. A few succeed, and the final result is that we end up better off than if the original shortage problems had never arisen. So is oil even finite? Simon argued that it was not finite in an economically meaningful way. He noted that, 1. The oil potential of a given well can be measured and hence is limited, but the number of wells that will eventually produce oil and in what quantities is not known. 2. Future technology can change the amount of oil that can be produced from a given well. As far back as 1990, oil companies were re-entering capped vertical wells and drilling horizontally to capture oil that had been left behind. 3. Even if we could survey all the potential wells in the world and estimate the recoverable oil by today's technology, we cannot know what future technology will allow us to recover. When Simon wrote his book, it was only theorized that shale oil and oil sands might one day be recovered. Today that's happening. 4. Oil from still more unconventional sources must be considered. Simon theorized about oil being extracted from coal. Today in China, the Shenhua Energy Company is doing just that. Biodiesel and ethanol further complicate this question, just like other sources that can be grown, such as palm oil and soybean oil. 5. Finally, since it's energy we want and not really oil, if the scarcity of oil temporarily increases to the point that the price rises sharply, substitutes such as coal, nuclear, solar, bioenergy, and wind can all be used if they become the low-cost alternative. This creates a practical cap on the price and consumption of oil. Humanity burned wood for thousands of years before turning to coal, burned coal for 300 years before developing oil, and burned oil for about 70 years before inventing nuclear fission. Given this, is it more likely that we run out of oil or that we progress to an even better energy source? So Simon concluded that the price or supply of oil at any moment in time doesn't depend on how much of it is in the planet, but on present technology and the availability of substitutes. Thanks for watching Cornucopia.